Hi there, I'm Mithras Barbosa, Tom Turner's avatar in Second Life. I'm just about a year old now. I was created just as Tom's EMDT journey began during the Media Literacy and Research course. I want to share with you Tom's experiences over the last year as he conducted his action research project.
Oh, there, partner. Don't forget about me. I was part of this too. What did you call it again?
You mean action research?
Yeah, I helped out too, you know.
How could I ever forget? I'm sorry, okay? And this here is Tom's mini-me. He was created as a pedagogical agent along the way too. Are you happy now?
Of course I am. Go ahead. You can continue now.
Tom's action research began promptly during the first class with Dr. Wiley in Media Literacy and Research. The foundations to writing the literature review began at this point. The most important part of the action research occurred at this time when Tom learned how to properly evaluate potential resources to determine if they were valid, reliable, or both. It was soon discovered that peer-reviewed journals were the ideal source to focus searching through. By the end of MLR, Tom had a beginning foundation for what his research question would be: to evaluate if using concept maps can positively affect student learning of science vocabulary. Over the first few months of the EMDT program, Tom read through scores of peer-reviewed journal articles to lay the foundation for his literature review. According to Akot, learning takes place in the human mind. Also, research conducted by Boujad and Ate in 2008 revealed that when students recognize key concepts and how they relate is when learning takes place. The literature suggests that some sort of tool is needed to help learners organize their thoughts. The goal of this action research was to evaluate if young students could create meaningful learning for themselves through the use of concept maps. Based upon research by Bafu Ambe and Reed Griffin, students taking part in this action research were given ample time prior to the start of the data cycles to become familiar with the types of concept maps that they would be utilizing. Chang, Sung, and Chen's research showed that not properly preparing students with any prior use of concept maps promoted lower performance on formative assessments. This was an important factor for the target group that would allow the best possible chance to find and create positive learning opportunities. The first stages of the design and development for Tom's action research began during his second month's class, Multiple Learning Theories. While reviewing Gardner's theories on multiple intelligences, Tom recognized that he would have to work closely with the classroom teacher to implement activities that would benefit students of different learning styles. Based upon Gardner's multiple intelligences theory, learning activities during Cycle 1 and 2 were developed for students who showed levels of possibly being linguistic, logical mathematical, spatial, bodily kinesthetic, musical, and interpersonal. The Education Design and Evaluation course in Month 5 played an integral role in the design and development process. Tom used the ADDIE method to develop all aspects of his action research. ADDIE stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. It is a step-by-step process that helps researchers, educators, and training specialists to plan and create training, research, or unit activities. During the analysis phase, Tom defined who his target audience was and finalized the instructional problem. During the design phase, learning objectives were created, expected outcomes were defined, and the time parameters that each cycle of data would take was set. During the development step, resources to be utilized during the research cycles were created. This included such things as the motivational survey, tests, pre-made concept maps, and lab experiences. Students participated in 2 different research cycles, each lasting a total of 6 weeks. Both cycles began with taking a motivational survey and a pre-quiz. Students would then proceed through learning activities and organize their thoughts in a pre-made concept map. Each cycle would conclude with a post-quiz to gauge student learning of the vocabulary terms. The last stage of the process was the evaluation of all qualitative and quantitative data collected. Data results from Cycle 1 show a group mean improvement of 10%. Cycle 2 spanned 2 different learning units. Results from the first unit show a group mean increase of 12%. The second unit of study showed an identical mean increase between the pre- and post-quiz of 12% as well. This past year would not have been possible without the support and assistance from my critical friends. These 5 colleagues were chosen based on our history and working together through the Discovery Educator Network. Throughout my action research and course projects, they were there with timely advice, words of encouragement, and by the end of the writing of the literature review, they became expert proofreaders. Here's a brief look at some examples of comments I've received from my critical friends.
I thought looking at the use of concept maps in the classroom was a really good idea for this study. In our state in Tennessee, our students are assessed on their ability to use concept maps, but I don't know of anybody that's looking at the data to see how effective they really are to improve student learning. So looking at this from the standpoint of both the child's own version of their self-efficacy, of how well they think they use concept maps, but also looking at it from the standpoint of tying it to a pre-test and a post-test to demonstrate whether actual learning has taken place or not. That was a really good design for a study, and I think could be very useful. It's something that I would really like to see done more of, even in our own area here in Tennessee. And then in addition, the technology integration part was a very good touch. Being able to have the students respond to the Likert scale surveys using classroom response systems made it much easier to collect the data and much faster to analyze the data, and I think that was a good idea. In addition, not only for this study, but it will also demonstrate to teachers in the classroom how easy it is for the technology to make our lives much simpler. So Tom, you did a good job, and I really appreciate the opportunity to help you out by being a critical friend.
Over the last few months, it has been a pleasure to assist Tom Turner as a critical friend in his research process. Through digital connections from Florida to Wisconsin, we have had many lively debates, conversations, and shared best practices in teaching. This process has enabled me to look at the work Tom has done regarding his research, delve into some interesting conversations about pedagogy, and then to reflect on my own teaching and learning experiences. Based on the research that Tom has shared with me, I'm impressed with the importance of concept mapping as a tool for teaching and learning. Tom and I have discussed how I feel that they are not as helpful to me because the type of learner I tend to be does not lend itself to thinking that way. His research has assisted me to come to an understanding that I need to reconsider this use of concept maps within my own classroom. In meeting the needs of all learners, this learning style is one that I have been neglecting and I need to look back into. I appreciate the opportunity to become a part of the critical debates that are so important to his work at Full Sail.
As I look ahead to what the future may bring, I can do nothing but smile. Conducting this action research project has taught me to be more inquisitive in finding best practices that better prepare my students to be lifelong learners. Learning the importance of the ADDIE method makes me a better candidate for district-level jobs in the school system or a multitude of jobs in the private sector. I'm in the early discussion phases with my new administrators to continue on with my action research. I'm looking to possibly expand my research on an older set of students, showing possible effects of Web 2.0 collaborative concept maps compared to traditional pen and paper methods, and possibly adding a group not utilizing concept maps at all. As my time as an EMDT student draws to a conclusion, I am reminded that each course over the last 12 months has played an equally important role in completing my action research project. Each course was a stepping stone to this point in time. I don't really know what the future may hold for me, but this year-long journey has been a fulfilling one.